Joining us now, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. I'd like your reaction to the speech.
Well, I think all of us were so impressed with President Zelenskyy, but also horrified by those images. It was just devastating to see these beautiful cities being destroyed, so many innocent civilian lives being lost. To me, the image of a father holding the hand of their child who's under a sheet at the hospital, deceased, is just devastating. So I think it can't help but have an impact on an already deeply sympathetic Congress.
And, you know, the issue that Zelenskyy has been bringing up almost from day one, right, some kind of a no-fly zone. Is that something that you think the United States could get behind sometime?
Well, I think it's still very difficult, Jose, for the reason that we would need to bomb Russian air defense systems within Russia. We would be in a shooting war with Russian pilots, and that would profoundly risk essentially a war between the United States and Russia. But there's a lot I think we can do to help Ukraine shoot down those Russian aircraft, bring down those missiles, and I think the president is going to be announcing later today some of those efforts to supply Ukraine with stronger, more capable, as well as more numbers of these air defense systems. That may be among the most important help that we can give, as well as more javelins to take out Russian tanks, more ammunition and other supplies. So we've done a lot already. We're going to do a lot more. But I still think at this point, no-fly zone would put us at too much of a risk of the United States being in direct war with Russia.
Congressman, what do you think of Zelenskyy's call for creating a new alliance of countries that can stop conflicts immediately?
Well, I think he's right about the fact that the international rules-based order has really failed to keep the peace. If one nation in Europe can essentially invade and bully its neighbor in the way Russia is doing with Ukraine, and the world is powerless to stop it, then the system we set up hasn't worked. So I think he's right about that. What new architecture would be more successful, I don't know. But as I was listening to him speak, I was thinking about whether we could form a broader global alliance of economies that would agree essentially to wall off from the world economy, in even broader terms, any nation that would invade its neighbor.
Yeah, you know, I was reading last night the Charter of the United Nations, 1945, sorry, the 24th of October Charter. And among the things it says, Article 42, the United Nations may take such action by air, sea, or land forces as may be necessary to maintain or restore international peace and security. And yet, Congressman, it seems like there really isn't any action that the world can take to stop a unilateral invasion like that. I mean, the U.S. has put a lot of sanctions on Russia. Their economy is crumbling. It hasn't changed Putin very much.
Well, we have to make sure, Jose, that ultimately it does, that Russia and Putin are unsuccessful, that this is a colossal failure. If we can do that, I think it will be a deep discouragement to other nations that are contemplating their own aggression against their neighbors. So there is a lot riding on this, as President Zelenskyy said so eloquently today. It's not the freedom of Ukrainian people alone, but people all over the world, and will have a deep impact on us here at home. So I do think he's right that their fight is our fight, and we need to continue to rally the rest of the world, as we have been, to resist this Russian aggression.
Congressman, I'm just wondering, how do you think this ends? You know, it's such a question that, you know, I think nobody has an answer to. Maybe the closest could be Putin, but maybe he doesn't even have an answer to this right now. But how do you think this ends?
You know, this is a question I've been asking since even before the invasion began, which is, what's Putin's end game here? How does this come to an end? I think the problem is that Putin's war plan was based on either a lie or a miscalculation that the Ukrainian people were going to somehow welcome them with open arms and not resist, and that the rest of the world wasn't going to come together and really punish Russia the way we have with sanctions. But I think, you know, this has caused Putin to double down. What will get him to head to the exits? Ultimately, I think only when we could bring about so much pressure on the Russian economy and on Russia militarily in Ukraine that Putin begins to fear for the longevity of his regime. I think nothing less than that is going to get him to back down unless he thinks that his own hold on power is slipping.
Yeah, or his own hold on his own life. I mean, that's really a question that, you know, if you look back at history, I mean, it seems as though he's put himself in a very difficult situation to get out of, right?
That's exactly right. And this is, you know, the terrible tragedy that you could see happening, which is as Ukraine was resisting and so courageously, and as the consequences went up and up and up for the Russian people economically, that Putin would merely dig in, and this is what he's done, to the point where he's left himself practically no way out. I think as a practical matter, the only way to shorten the length of this terrible conflict is by continuing to raise the costs on Russia until they can bear those costs no longer. And tragically, that doesn't help the Ukrainian people much in the near term, but I think that's the only path out of this.
Congressman Schiff, it's always a pleasure to see you. I thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.